Hey there, welcome back to my studio. I'm going to be drawing and talking about another internet sensation known as Pesto the penguin. Some people like Pesto, some people like Mudang. I think it's just animals in zoos with marketing, and they're both cool and cute and we love them. So anyway, I'm going to talk about Pesto, talk about his species, I'm going to be fair and talk about the zoo that Pesto's in, which is actually an aquarium. And yeah, we'll go from there. So, to start with, Pesto is a king penguin, not an emperor penguin. Similar but different. Emperor penguins are bigger. They're emperors, maybe a little better than a king depending on who you ask. So they're bigger. The babies are more distinct. The king penguins look like the brown little kiwi fruit that we see that Pesto is, and the emperors are like the gray happy feet penguins. So yeah, Pesto is a king penguin. He lives at the Sea Life Aquarium in Melbourne, Australia. To be fair to the Mudang video, I looked into the aquarium that Pesto is staying in. They have a little page on conservation on one fish, so there's some, conservation aspects there. A lot of aquariums, just like zoos, can be sketchy and some not. The Melbourne one seems like a fine, average aquarium. The penguin area is a little small and has a lot of feces in it. But apparently, as a quote put out by the Melbourne Zoo or someone, I don't know, talking about it, they do have the penguin exhibit up to the standards of the zoological associations and penguin associations, which I will put icons of those here because I just can't remember them off the top of my head. So apparently it is to standard. If you think about it in the wild, penguins are in tight-knit colonies. They like to be up in each other's business. They feel very insecure out in the open and alone, so they do like being up in each other's business. As far as the feces, it may seem disgusting to humans to have to look at, and the zookeepers do clean it up pretty frequently because if they didn't, it would be just way worse than it looks. But in the wild, those colonies, you see them and there's thousands and thousands of penguins up next to each other. They're not like waddling out of the group to go poop somewhere else. They're just pooping everywhere right where they're at. That's just how they are. They are known to be a very stinky animal, and it may go against the cuteness that we see in them, but they are just stinky little boys and girls. Anyway, based on photos and reviews and looking into the zoo and their enclosures and things like that, aquarium, it's the same thing with Mudang. They seem well taken care of, fed, whatever. Obviously, they want people to come and pay for admission, and that's going to go towards the care of those animals. Say what you will about the penguin exhibit. I'm not a penguin zoologist. You're not a penguin zoologist, so only they can truly judge the exhibit itself, but the penguins seem to be healthy. They don't seem stressed or sick, and I think that's all that matters. Anyway, I thought I would go into some facts about Pesto himself. So now that I've talked about the aquarium, we can move on to the man himself. Like I said, he's a king penguin, and what he's famous for is that he is ginormous for his species. He is already 50 pounds, and an adult king penguin, especially a male, usually only gets to be about 30 to 37 pounds, so he is an exceptional lad with an exceptional girth. Granted, when he gets older, he will slim down, and also a lot of that size, obviously not the weight, but the size itself is just the fur on him. So when he's older, he will slim down, and he will look like any other penguin, but he will still be probably bigger than his counterparts, which the zookeepers say is a blend of good genetics and just eating good. So he's about 10 months old now. His dad is a different older penguin, and he's being raised by a young surrogate pair as a way to see if they'd be good parents, and it turns out they are, because he is Pesto, the big boy. His name is Pesto because many of the penguins at the zoo have food-themed names, so he turned out to be Pesto, and weirdly it fits, even though he's like this brown fuzzy thing. I don't know why Pesto just feels right, even though it's a green thing. So soon he will be growing into his adult feathers and being given swimming lessons, but for now he just waddles around on land and eats and poops everywhere. There's not much about him other than he's huge and he loves the ice machine, which I think any penguin would love the ice machine. And he's actually not the first famous king penguin. Other notable king penguins are Major General Sir Nils Olav. He is the mascot of the Royal Norwegian Guard. And then Lala, who was accidentally caught by a fisherman in Japan and was nursed back to health. They are famous for a video of them going into town wearing a backpack to get fish. So now onto some king penguin facts. They are native to South Georgia and southern Argentina and a couple sub-Antarctic islands in northern Antarctica. They're kind of just south, but they don't really live on the mainland of Antarctica, so they don't really interact with emperor penguins very often. So they are a distinct other species to the emperor penguin. They're the second largest penguin, the emperor penguin being the biggest one, and they are similar to them except for some coloring differences. We know size, coloring differences, the babies look different, but the coloring differences being that the king penguin is more orange in the face with some chest differences with the yellow and orangeness. As far as king penguins and their, conservation stuff that's gonna come up, they used to be hunted for their blubber, meat, oil, and feathers, but they are now a totally protected species. You cannot lay a finger on them. Their population used to be 1 million breeding pairs and is now about 60,000-ish as of 2017. I think it's more now in about the 100,000s. They are listed as least concern, which means we're not too worried about them, even though we want to protect them because they were dwindling. Now they're not, but still protected. So they're least concern. Their population's doing well due to the protective measures. So policies do work sometimes. And the policies were set in place by many countries, but the fact that the United States and China were included is a really huge impact because it can control a lot of those fishing regulations, and there's just a lot of money and power behind that protection. So, and obviously we're gonna be pretty huge consumers, so by protecting them, whatever, you get the picture, they connect. That being said, there is predicted to be huge die-offs as climate change accelerates, and due to the change in the fishing grounds compared to where the nesting grounds are located, the king penguins are probably going to have to shrink in numbers as they're going to have to go farther to eat between their nesting ground, and it's just going to be a whole thing. Not that that's a guaranteed thing, but if the way things are going, it is a prediction that by, I think it was 2100, that they would be maybe half or so of the population existing. But that's why it's good to have protections and policies that help prevent the acceleration of climate issues and environmental issues, and to protect the, how much krill and things like that we consume, not eating their prey so they have enough prey to eat. That's a huge issue amongst a lot of penguin species and dolphin species and other fish species. So just being conscientious of your seafood consumption, of your environmental impact. Obviously, I put more blame on larger industries than the individual. So there is hope for any species. The king penguin is in less peril than the silly little pygmy hippo. That being said, Pesto being put in the spotlight again shows us a love and appreciation for animals we don't regularly see, and maybe by loving those animals, we will care more about protecting them and thus make changes in our lives to care more about creatures outside of ourselves. So that is Pesto the penguin. I've done Mudang and Pesto now. There will be more famous animals in the future, as there have been in the past. One of my favorite past famous animals when I was a kid was Raja the elephant at the St. Louis Zoo. He was a huge deal, and that was before social media, so you can't exactly blame social media for cute animals permeating the social barrier. So if you liked this video, leave a comment and tell me about your favorite local zoo animal that you loved. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.